This was one of my favorite projects that I worked on. This space was originally designed as a theater, but it was dated. It needed a revamp. I was given quite a small budget, but a lot of time to have a little bit of creative freedom with it. It's a very symmetrical space, which is actually a little bit out of what I normally work with, which was a nice change. I went for a classic, timeless feel, so it wouldn't have to be changed often. I went with design concepts to small models to vector renders. Sat down with my senior designer. We went through all the design elements and how I could do this theater on a budget. The most expensive piece was actually the acoustic panels. And if I can show you here, there's not a lot to it. It keeps the sound inside. So part of my job was to source out the companies, get quotes. This design element here started out as a full piece of MDF. The MDF was a recycled material found in the museum. I designed this beveled piece to bring to the cabinet makers, and they were able to put together this frame that is a great design element that I actually pushed forward and used in the crown molding as well as the baseboards. An interesting feature about this picture frame is that you can put some screws in the top of it, and this seam here actually lifts up and you're able to replace the plexiglass, the images, whatever you need to. So this frame is stationary, but the images inside are not. This space previously used to have a conjoining wall to the next exhibit beside it. So I've closed off the wall, and the acoustic panels hide it quite well, but I'm going to take you next door and show you how I solved that design problem. A design problem that I needed to solve was a door that was coming from the theater that we were just in to the Devonian Reef, which is a display right next to it. So instead of getting whole new acoustic paneling in the Devonian Reef, which wasn't necessarily and just way out of the budget, I took a 4x8 sheet and designed it so it was actually a feature text panel, and we were able to resolve the problem without putting a large amount of funds into the space. So this is the Burj Al Shale exhibit. This isn't my exhibit, but my job as a junior designer was to work with a design problem that wasn't solved properly in the first place. The acoustic panels in here weren't designed to withstand all the traffic that was coming through. So my job was to source out different companies and do quotes to be able to replace all the acoustic panels. So with the acoustic paneling here, people were scared, so they were running their body across the wall. The fabric wasn't the right fabric, so I was able to have somebody come out and take a look at the space, and they were able to understand that they need to make these individual panels in their own factory and then come out and install them. The challenge with this space was not the fact that this couldn't get done, but was the fact that there's not many people, especially in Alberta, that are able to do it, and able to do it for a reasonable price. This was a very expensive project, so working with the government and being able to do it under budget was actually the biggest problem. So there's more to design than just the design aspect of it. There's the physical labor of it, the manipulation of different mediums, the painting, the construction, the physical labor of it. This wasn't my exhibit, but it was actually one of my first projects when I was coming to the museum. I did a lot of painting, a lot of vinyl application, cleaning, working with a team basically. It was a very fun project that I really got a good sense of what the museum was about. Action. So this is one of Webster's designs, but he got a lot of the team to work with the vinyl application. So we all got together one morning and we applied large format vinyl. So we all got experience, but especially myself, I don't know why that was, but it was a very good opportunity, and I got very good at working with little intricate pieces and working with large format vinyl. So there's less appealing work in the museum, and there's signage that needs to get done. So you're working with kids, working around kids, you're working with breastfeeding signs, but there's just stuff that needs to get done, and I have experience in this. A simple picture is worth 1,000 words. So these are the kid cubes here. They're a fun design element in the museum where it's very interactive for toddlers. The hardest part about this design element is actually having it kid-friendly, having the wear and tear of the materials. It's an old design that I reevaluated, and I made it out of plywood that's actually been printed right onto it. So the plywood was brought into the shop and the rest of it was made in-house. So the original blocks that were pre-existing were made out of plywood as well, but they have vinyl applied on top of it. They lasted for about 5 years, and these are pre-existing for about 2 years already, and they're in wonderful shape. There's no breaks, no cuts, no chips, and they still move quite well. So these banners are my design. They were pre-existing, very similar design to what's existing now, but they couldn't be retensioned. It's a little bit floppy right now, but they just haven't actually been pulled up. So this wire here is attached to the pre-existing base that I have manipulated. And what I've done is on the 18-foot ceiling, I've designed a rod and had it fabricated by welders. And the banner flips over and uses the wire as a tensioning system. The design element here with the banners going to the 18-foot roof is the illusion that it is coming from the roof. So the design that I created, my goal was to have it as close to the ceiling as possible, which is a harder design element to work with. It was about $100 per piece that was created by the welders. It was my design. I used preliminary designs with foam core so the welders could actually visually see what I was wanting produced. The bases were pre-existing and the budget for this project was quite small, so I manipulated what was already pre-existing with wood in-house. The pre-existing design for this specimen was a little bit rough around the edges. It had this bar that was running right across. You couldn't see the specimen well. It was too low, wasn't very well lit. So my design element that I changed was I designed a whole new case that had a curved piece in front, as well as it's lifted and the case is actually raised to the same height as the bars. One of the design flaws with this specimen was it was very hard to access, and this is a very rare specimen that is accessed more frequently than the average. So how I designed it was it stays stationary, and this front piece just unlocks in the back and it pulls forward. This is a very interesting project that I had that was one of my favorites for sure. It was very hard and very big. It is an Alberta ceratops is the specimen, so it is very rare, but it's also very, it needs to be accessed quite frequently, but it's really big. We wanted to be able to see it from all three sides, and so I designed this case that presents it quite sufficiently, as well as made it very easily accessible. So I want to speak briefly about some of the design elements, as well as working with the construction of the piece. This design element here with the curved glass, I found out after months of hardship and searching out for quotes and information about glass and about construction of the case that you can't get curved tempered glass in Canada. Not that I can find anyways. So this piece was constructed from a curved glass that has a protective film on the back. The rest of it is tempered for security and safety reasons within a museum. The construction of the glass and as well as the case was done by a company in Calgary that we've worked with before, and they're quite a good company to take time with. They were able to have me come out into Calgary to make sure everything about the design elements was up to my liking and up to par for the museum. The glass is such an important piece, as well as a specimen, that we've designed it so that the glass stays stationary and the specimen moves. So the scientists can actually roll it away very easily and safely, which is key for such a rare specimen, and we can put it back without any trouble.